My name is Dr. Diju. So welcome to my story, my power. We have a special guest and she goes by the name Lolo. Okay? I'm sure she's going to introduce herself. Okay, I know her as Lolo because we're close. Apart from being my guest, she's also a friend. Okay? So she will introduce herself. Hi Lolo, how are you doing?
Very well, thank
It's really
you,
good
Dr.
to see you.
Diju.
Wow,
Yes,
it's really
of
good
course.
to see you.
Thank you
I want
so
to
much.
know, like, what should we call you on this show? What should our viewers know you as?
Okay, really, for names, everybody call me different things.
Okay.
So my name, is Catherine
Wow.
Ememere.
Wow.
Everybody call me Lolo Kate,
Right.
and just been a name that stuck so many years ago when I was in university.
Right.
The meaning of Lolo, first of all, is a king's wife. Yeah.
Whoa, you hear that, guys? King's
So
wife.
it's a title, not really a name, But it kind of stuck when we were in university. I don't know, whatever reasons, my friend just nicknamed me Lolo,
Right.
and everybody started calling me Lolo. So it just grew, till now.
Right.
So, but I'm happy if anybody calls me Lolo. But
Right.
at work, some people call me Kate, and personal friends call me Kathy.
Wow.
So whatever you want to call me, but my name remains Catherine Ememere.
Catherine
Thank you very
Ememere.
much.
Okay, for viewers, I think that Catherine Ememere would be much more, correct me if I'm wrong.
And now, as the owner of a restaurant, people just come in. Oh, I want to see Lola. I want to see Lola. So when you hear everybody, I think it's just a general name. People just want to,
Right.
I think maybe out of respect, they don't want to call their real name or just something that they're used to or they like,
Right.
and so they just see me as Lola. So
Right.
that's fine by me as well.
Okay, all right. So Catherine, Ememere, or Lolo. Okay, whatever your choice. So she's giving you that choice. I think giving human being choice is so powerful, and it empowers human beings. So that's what she just does. She's empowering you. Whatever makes you feel comfortable around her. Okay, I must tell you, when you're around Lolo, she's very friendly, warm, and everything you want to call it. Okay, so she's giving you that choice. Lolo, back to you. I want to know something about you. I want to know who Lolo is. And was you born in the UK? And, what's your background like growing up?
Thank you very much, Dr. Deji. It's really a pleasure, to be on this with you today. I know that we just kept changing time, so it's really a rare privilege. I don't take it for granted.
Sure.
Your friendship is something that means so much to me, and just coming on this, program or show, or just give me that to just talk about myself. So thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome.
And to viewers, thank you, for having me and watching this. I hope at the end of the day we'll be able to impart some knowledge and you get to know a bit about me. So.
Sure.
About me, anyway, as I said, my name is Catherine Ememere. I was born into a family of 5. My dad was a military man, served in the Nigerian army. So I was born in Nigeria, born and bred, in Lagos, Nigeria.
Right.
So growing up, I'm the first daughter. I have 2 elder brother in front of me, and I have a younger sister and a younger brother. And I think that just because the way my parents have their children. It was like every 2 years. So I just used to play, with my siblings. Then after me was my younger brother. So we kind of make, 2 asides, we're playing football. So I grew up as a tomboy.
Right.
I remember in my secondary school, I think I was finished secondary school, I like to have my hair cut,
Right.
like my brothers, because kind of, was so, in tune with whatever they were doing and all that kind of sister, with them and everything. So my dad was like, no, you're a girl, girl, you got to do your hair, you got to, look like a girl and everything. And I went to all girls school, so I kind of was tomboyish.
Yeah.
And, and I was a very, very quiet, very reserved on the quiet side. I think it will not be complete until I say this. Yeah. I have an auntie, my mom's younger sister, that raised me, that grew me, Mrs. Evelyn Okumbo. God bless you, ma. She's my second mommy. I call her second mommy, because she's my mommy indeed.
Yeah.
I have a biological mother. I love her so much. But, this my auntie, Mrs. Evelyn Okumbo is my mommy. She raised me. She was there for me. So my upbringing, everything, and she's formed part of who I am today. And I'm so grateful for her because, she paved, and, developed some characters in me, and, very wonderful, wonderful woman, and we're still very, very close to because she's my mommy.
Right.
She loved me all my life.
Again? So,
Mrs. Evelyn Okumbo.
God bless you, man.
So I grew up, with her, so I was always in her house, she and her husband, her late husband, Captain Osa Okumbo, raised me. So I was in their house, and everybody that know him, and, they would have seen me, and they also know me. I was in the house. So I was like, the first, set of children, the first child and everything. So I'm grateful for that support, because that exposes me to so many things and so many confidence. So I was a very reserved and very quiet person, and I remember, that's why I mentioned my auntie right now. When I was going to secondary school, she called me by my native name, Osause, we're from Edo State in Nigeria, and my dad is from Edo State. And she called me Osause. Start talking, they will cheat you in this life. Start talking, you've got to express yourself. You've got to communicate, because I just take everything in. And maybe because I stutter a little bit when I was younger, and I can't just put my words together. The words don't just, come to me. And so I rather just keep quiet. Sometimes, and I read a lot. I read all the novels in the house. I read everything even beyond my age. And so I know so many things, and I'm not telling. And, it will be worse of you to underrate me, because I actually know, but I'll just kind of blend in the crowd, and I wasn't talking. And she was like, give me that book. Start talking. You've got to express yourself. Have that words out. And that actually, so when I'm in the crowd, when I'm outside, I kind of, start, being a chatterbox. Now, I'm sure she'll get me to stop talking now, because, I just kind of, when I'm that, I just put that personnel of kind of expressing myself to my friends, being that friendly person, being that person that actually will communicate my feelings, instead of internalizing it. So, I went to, a boarding house, all girls secondary school, Baptist girls secondary school. When I finished, I got admission into the university. So I went to the Middle Belt, or in the North now, I went to the University of Jos. And, when I was in secondary school, I was the senior prefect, or the president of press, that is the science jet student, because I was a science student. But I was very good in literature. So I was also the president of Literary and Debating Society.
Wow.
I started debating, right from when I was in secondary school here, first year, JSS1, and all through the time I left. And so, in my school, there was something they were doing in Nigeria. You couldn't read literature and also be a science student. But I was very good in Literary and Debating Society, so they had to give it to me. So I just couldn't, I did literature until my SS2. I used to write my short poems. I love, most of the things, literary art. But because I was doing further maths and was a science student, in my SS3, they had to move me to SS3A, which was JET, so I had to drop literature. But as at then, I'd already become the senior, the president of, Literary and Debating Society. So I wanted to do so many things. I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to be a banker, I wanted to be a doctor. I was good, kind of jack of all trades kind of person. So that got me to university. University, I took so many courses. Law, I did economics, I did geography and planning, I did so many things. Anyway, when I finished university, and the opportunity just came in. I went into the bank. And, the banking industry, I remembered in 2001, when I finished, I'd worked with my uncle briefly. He had an oil servicing company. He had this, this American franchise that do a deal in, we called it, what was the name again? I think American Concrete, called it one concrete company. So we did designs, so my background in geography and planning helped me to, fit around the company. Then later I became a kind of his PA and admin and secretary in the oil firm. And that year 2000 was ending, and I was like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to work? I wanted more. I wanted something, something in me wanted more, was craving more. I know that, my uncle was giving me this opportunity. I've done so many things for him. But while in my uncle's office, I knew that, when they come to fix the system, computer was just coming in then. When they come to fix the system, I'll just quickly go and help the guy. And, so when the same faults, comes up another time, I said, my uncle, don't call him, I can do it. I watched him do it, I can do this. So something in me, I just wanted to, more relevant.
So you've always been that person that always want to do something.
Yeah.
So you've always known yourself to be very ambitious.
I know that, when I watch somebody do something,
Right.
I can do that thing, and I will learn it.
Right.
And I didn't know what I wanted to be. So many
Right.
things was coming at me.
So at that point, you were.
I was still
jack
very,
of all trades.
very basic. I was like,
Right.
so I've not had a form to say, okay, this is what I'm interested in. I just knew that, okay, you know what? I'm working for my uncle. He sorts me out. He gives me money at the end of the month. He pays my salary.
Right.
And then on the side, he also give me something. I grew up with him, so I know him. I was okay financially, but I just knew that I needed something more, and I wanted to go into, So there was this thing. I went for an interview. I think in one of the oil company, and they said I didn't have industrial experience, and that got to me. I was like, what is industrial experience? I'm working for an oil servicing firm now. What is industrial experience? Anyway, I want to have an industrial experience. The December of year 2000, I wrote out 3 type of companies I wanted to work in to get my industrial experience now. And I wrote the banks. And I wasn't just particular about banks. I wrote about 3 banks, that I wanted to work in. And I wrote the oil companies I wanted to work in, about 3 of them. And I think I wrote the telecom. Telecom was just coming in. I think they were just forming. So I wrote them down and I prayed and I said, this is where I want, and I'm going to send my CV into this company alone. There was no email as then. So I printed the hard copy. I had it in my file. I went to, Lagos is the commercial center in Nigeria, you understand that. And so all the companies are there, their headquarters were there as a then, So I went only to the headquarters, dropped my CV to whoever I could drop my CV with. And I did that for all the companies I wanted to work in.
Wow.
I was very intentional about my next phase.
Sure.
And I gave my target at the end of 2021, I was going to get into a very blue chip company and get my industrial experience. I was very determined.
Yes.
Anyway, fortunately, I they invited me to write tests. I went into the library then, we had the CMS library in Lagos. So we had this GMAS thing that, they set all the questions for executive training and for you to write tests. I read it back to back and I was prepared. So when I did the test, the bank called me, one of the banks I put my CV, they called me for a test. I was number 3 on that list. Third best. And the first guy I think got about 97% or 98%. The second person got 95%. I was the third. I got 93%.
Wow.
So it was no brainer.
That was excellent.
I know, so no brainer that I entered the banking industry at as early as 2001. I did that interview January or February of 2001, and I got in, resumed work June 2021. So that became, the industrial experience phase in Nigeria. The banking industry were coming on. I started as a teller, but there's something more. And when I was in the teller, my professor in university, and I always quote this quote to people that I also inspire, said something to me, Deji. He said, Professor Olanipekun, I will never forget, University of Jos. He's late now. And he said something to us, but I took this literally and I wrote it down. He said, knowledge is a composite whole. Every fragment of knowledge is knowledge. Oh my God. Every fragment of knowledge is knowledge.
Wow.
And I wrote it down.
Yes.
Whatever that means that there are certain things you know.
Sure.
You might not know the whole thing, but that you know a little part might come into play later in life.
Sure.
While I was in the oil service and working with my uncle, I've learned to, I told you about this guy that come in to fix the system that I was, monitoring and I'll watch and I'll do the same, for. While I was in the bank, when our server is down, or we have a problem that we have to call the head office to come and fix. And they come in, the same approach, because I didn't even know I understand. I know that the guy will turn the switch on, will pull this cable right, will pull that in on. I started doing it.
Wow.
I was always the person that, will call the head office, they will talk to me and I will fix all the faults.
Wow. So you've always been like a problem solver.
Yes, kind of. And really, that came into play because I've seen, I've done it for my uncle's company. I didn't even know I knew so much until I entered the banking industry. Of course, the server is down for one fault or the other, and they put this cable there, put this RJ, and before you know it, I got into, I used the application from the bank I was in, Standard Trust Bank as at then, I moved into First Bank.
Wow.
You know, my trajectory into the banking industry, I think when I left Standard Trust, I went to Accenture Consulting wanted people that understand the banking application Standard Trust Bank was using, which was Finacle. It was an Oracle-based system. And they needed people to go and train First Bank. First Bank was coming in now with, an online banking system. They have adopted, this banking application, Finacle. So the consulting firm, Accenture, wanted to send people to go and train, the First Bank people. And through, I just submitted an application and they took me in. They've seen my result, they've seen the experience I had with Standard Trust Bank. They took me in as, system and application support. It was, an application support to First Bank.
Yeah.
So I went into First Bank as a consultant.
Wow.
Now with my background in using their banking application so I could train the tellers. I could tell them, this different faults, and with also the little background I know in IT. IT was the field that was coming in, right? And I've seen some application being used on the system while I also working with my uncle. We've done this. We used to do safety guides for different companies, and my uncle would tax me in doing that. So on the system, you see me, doing so many diagrams. So that helped me, kind of fine-tuned me. And, as I said, knowledge is a composite whole. Every fragment is knowledge. So those little things I've learned helped me to, hone my skill as a consultant now into First Bank. And when Accenture was leaving First Bank, First Bank had kind of gained some experience. They wanted some, staff. Not just removing Accenture as in its entirety, but they wanted to adopt some staff now into the bank. Now to help them to continue what Accenture has started, the good work Accenture has started. And I was among the people they picked.
Wow. So you've always been one of the brilliant in whatever field that you find yourself in. Because
I will stop you there. I won't say brilliant, really. But some people just say me as such, and sometimes I wonder, are you talking about me? However, I think I'm just consistent in what I was doing. So if that is the word you use, I will not, really, fault you. However, it wasn't that I was a genius from nowhere. I think I was just determined, to do something.
So you're a very determined person. And from what you've just told us, you said that you were a senior prefect. And it seems like the chronology of your life, it seems like you find yourself in leadership position right from school.
Yes, right from school. I was a senior prefect. Then when I got into the university, I was also the president of my department. So I was the president of that. And, it was a no-brainer. There's always a vacuum in leadership, really. And when you were there and you understand, you see the gaps, I think people just decide to follow you. I can remember when I was in my second year, there was a position of, social, I think it was, what was it called now? Is it secretary, social service secretary? I can't remember what the name was. And I decided to contest for that. And one of my co-competitors, that wanted, to apply for the role or wanted the role as well when they were voting, because, they have to vote you in, came in. And I said, I've always been there. This is what I've done for the students. Every year, because when you come into university, I'm sure you went to university in Nigeria, if you did, when you go into university at that time, they'll give you key holder, they'll give you some notebook that had the school logo. Every year, even in my year one, when he gave me the first one, and I went to the social service secretary and I was like, we can improve, give key holder, give some things that were not there. These are the things. So I was always assisting. To move the department, the school forward. So when the vacancy came in my year two, I applied for that position and I was voted in. And during my campaign, I actually said what I've done for the school and what I would do for the school. And the kind of support they would get at the social service secretary. And I was voted in. So during my 300 level going to my final year, I was inside the president. So there's always a vacuum in leadership, and I feel that when you're consistent and concessions enough, and you have that leadership ability and the skills to lead, people will naturally gravitate towards you, and I think that's what they did. And I was voted in as the president of NATS, which today I have my alumni, and I'm still very very, very active in my alumni. We have this WhatsApp group that we are in, and it's wonderful to know that you've done this. So yes, coming now into work, I knew that I wanted something. I knew that I needed to do something to better my career, and I got into banking. And my journey into banking was very, very wonderful. From Central, I moved into First Bank now as a full-time staff.
I've been wanting to ask one question.
Okay.
What does wealth mean to you as a person? Because your background has always been from one bank to another. Even at First Bank, you were the consultant. So you've always found yourself in where you're having to deal with money and all of that. What does wealth mean to you?
Thank you very much, Dr. Digi. This is a very big question because, a lot of people think, attribute wealth and money as the same thing.
Sure.
So what does it really mean to me? I think wealth to me is peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Let's just not kind of demystify or bring down what wealth really is.
Sure.
Because I don't want to say you can be wealthy and be poor, no.
Sure.
So to me, it's that degree of comfort where, you have your needs met. However, you have a degree of doing freedom to do what absolutely you want to do. So to me, I believe that is wealth to me. I don't. I will not say myself wealthy after acquiring everything, and I'm not able to say what I want to say, go to where I want to go. My peace of mind is like really imploded, and so that's why I first of all say peace of mind.
I like that.
And that is wealth to me, and I feel that you can be wealthy when you're in health.
Sure.
When you absolutely, money is also a very big part of it, or a good part of it, but not essentially the majority of what wealth is, because you can have money and you're not wealthy. And so when you say in health and in wealth, for me is that peace of mind and the freedom, the ability to be whatever.
Sure.
And as I told you recently, I just went back into school. That is my fourth degree, by the way. So I'm a student now, and that craving for knowledge to be absolutely what I wanted to be.
Sure.
And I think it's from that kind of confusion. What will I be? What do I want to be? I didn't get that, in my early years. So my going into banking, to attain that industrial professional experience was just because, also to be able to get, sufficiently the kind of money I wanted. I was good in the bank. I enjoyed it anyway. But what I wanted to be, if money was not the problem, if, getting, a very good salary at the end of the day, at the end of the month, wasn't a problem. That is what I want to study now. To me, that is wealth.
Okay, which is psychology.
Yes, because I've always wanted to be a consultant. I've always wanted to, train people, to lecture, to do things I want to do. And I believe that this, what I'm studying now, is going to give me everything I've always wanted to be outside money.
Thank you so much. You've answered that brilliantly. I think what I've learned is that you said that wealth is about your peace of mind. That if you're wealthy and then your peace of mind is taken from you, then what's the point of the wealth? So I like that definition, peace of mind. And also, I want to know, at what point did you decide to relocate to United Kingdom? And I want to start what you're doing now, because I know that you're also the founder of Zuma Rock Restaurant. I want to know, at what point did you decide I want to go to UK and this is what I want to do when I get to the UK?
Thank you. I think When I came into the UK, 2007, I met my husband. Um, Backtrack, I'll talk about my background a bit. I had a child, my first son, before I got married, right immediately after university. In fact, a lot of my friends called me that I had double degrees because of the double honor for me. I was pregnant, in my final year in university, and so I decided to, have my child. So I was a single parent with my first son, for a while, and so I wanted to study. So that was my third degree, coming to do my master's in the UK. I think in the banking industry, we had a lot of people that had come into the UK, I think during the Obasanjo regime, and once you just have a foreign degree, the sky was your limit in Nigeria. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get my foreign degree, so I applied into school here. And I remember when I was coming, my mom was like, oh, you already have 2 degrees. What are you doing with another degree? Won't you settle down? Won't you get married? And I said, I'd rather have another degree and marry. I'm more educated and married than not being educated. And my mom will stop my life because, I don't have a life partner. And fortunately, that actually opened up because my husband was already in the UK.
Right.
So I met him, while I was coming to do my graduation, and I met my husband. And so my husband was here. And the conversation around that time was, I wasn't going to relocate because even when I came to study, I, was still working. So every holiday I was still working in the banking industry. I took some time off. That's, my lectures, this, that. So I was, still working, in the bank, and I was still schooling until I finished. So when I was coming for my graduation, I met my husband. So immediately after the graduation and everything, we got married, and I was still in Nigeria because I told him, I said I wasn't going to leave Nigeria, and I was in Nigeria. I was pro-Nigerian kind of person. All my siblings were already outside of the country, and I was very pro-Nigeria. I had a very good job, and my job afforded me, I could pay my school fees in one soap. So the banking industry was, one of the, industry in Nigeria that is very well paying, and your salary was very regular at a certain point. We're not super rich, but at least we're in that middle class era that we could afford our needs. And I didn't want to leave such thriving job. At the time I was coming, I was already the head of channels in First Bank, and head of implementation, Northern Directorate. So things were really going on well for me, and I didn't want to leave that job just to come to the UK because of marriage. And I believe we had that conversation, and I keep reminding my husband that you told me no problem that you were going to relocate to Nigeria, but several years down the line, my husband told me he lied to me. that if he had told me, to relocate to the UK, he was very certain I would have said no. And, so it was not now that I needed to come and join him and everything, So I still took my very beautiful time to, to think about it. A lot of people said I shouldn't come. And what am I doing in the UK? You have a very good job in Nigeria. And as at the time, I've left First Bank now. I was in Shelly Bank. I've moved from Shelly Bank to Echo Bank that had 36 affiliates in Africa. So I was like mostly in most of the other African countries. I had a very thriving career. I was the head of cash management. I was dealing with WHO, UN. I was dealing with ECOWAS accounts. I was dealing with most of the majority of the airlines, Etihad, Emirates. So all the airlines I had their account. I was the head cash management. Was things were good.
Yes.
And I just couldn't think about leaving to start all over again. But my husband, after 5 years, my husband had this challenge. We're like, no, I can't do this. It's either we stay married as a couple and we're together, or let's call it quit. I think when he gave me that ultimatum, it's it really came across. I was like, oh my goodness, I have to really leave and come to join him. So my job, my work, was the sacrifice. So I came into the UK in 2014, to join my husband. And in my mind, I was like, okay, coming to join him, I'll just come in to stay in a while, then I can continue my career. I've done my master's in the UK, and to me, I believe that I could easily, find my footing and go back again to what I love doing. And so that, brought me into the UK in later.
That's a huge sacrifice. I mean,
It was. And again, I'd come to visit my husband when he was complaining. So I got pregnant, for our last baby. And so I was like, okay, you know what? And actually, I'd gotten another, offer to come back again to First Bank.
Sure.
To do what I enjoyed doing. And First Bank, I think, the one of the human resources at then had said that, they needed something I was doing in, EcoBank, and they needed to, replicate that in First Bank. And since I was a friend of the house, that they wanted me to come back. And so I'd gotten the offer letter, but, during the time I was supposed to come in to resume, I came into the UK and I got pregnant.
Oh, wow.
A brief visit to my husband, I got pregnant. And I was like,
that's what they call one touch.
And I just felt that, God was saying to me, come. I couldn't go to resume because I'd already resigned from my other job. So I couldn't go to resume.
Sure.
In First Bank now, pregnant. And I was like, okay, my husband, is giving me the riot act. I should come and join him, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, you know what? Let me come. It took me a little bit for under 6 months to prepare, but I came to join him. And so that became my sojourn. So I came in, had a baby in 2015, and, stayed, tried to understand, take care of my, took the time off to take care of my son. And after that, I started doing courses. While I was in First Bank, I told you I was now in IT. I've done courses in IT, so I was assistant support. From IT after 2-3 years, that thing, I told my boss, I said, you know what, I'm going to electronic business.
Sure.
Going to China. So I moved from IT to electronic banking, from there into implementation of, different systems.
So at what point did you say, I want to start a restaurant? Because you have a big restaurant. I'm telling you, one of the biggest African restaurants, to be specific, in the whole of Northamptonshire. So I want to know, at what point did you decide? And I was in London when I heard about you guys. First of all, it was called Rock.
Yeah.
Rock Restaurant.
Yeah.
I saw it on newspaper. I was like, oh, I read it. I said, I'm happy to see, Black people doing great, great stuff. So at what point did you guys decide that this is what you guys want to do?
Oh, thank you very much. We moved into Northamptonshire in 2019.
Sure.
So immediately after that, COVID happened. And, I started working again in the banking industry.
Sure.
I did some work, in different IT firms, before I moved into the banking industry, because that's always been my natural calling, and I've always love finance and things attributed to that. And so now in the banking industry, then I had my birthday party. It was my 50th birthday party coming up. So all my siblings, I have 4 siblings in Canada. I have, different relations in America, my friends from Nigeria, different places. They all traveled to come and celebrate with me in the UK. So when they came in, the next day, a few days after my party, we wanted to eat. And I didn't want to start cooking. It was a big problem. My dad was around, my mom was around, my siblings were here, my friends' family, from different places, they were here. Wanted to eat. I couldn't start cooking in the house. Well, my birthday, you guys are celebrating here. You guys spare me the details. But they wanted to eat, and I was like, okay, where's the restaurant? The nearest one was in Northampton. The African restaurant there was in Northampton, and it was a tall order for us to go there. To drive all the way, about 40-45 minutes to go to eat, and driving all the way back. It was just a burden. And my mom told me something. She just whispered, I think it's high time you started a restaurant. I'm like, oh no. Because, my mom actually had a restaurant, when we were growing up. So we had about 3-4, outlets, was a very good big canteen. And we have about 3-4 outlets. So when I'm on holiday, I manage it. So I wasn't the cooking one in the house, although all of us can cook, just because at the virtue of the fact that, they're, churning out this food every day in the house. So definitely you will learn it.
So your mom advised you about that, to start a restaurant?
Yeah.
Wow.
She did. So she put the idea into me, and I was like, why not? And I think the fear was, how do I do that with my work, working in the bank, and, with having a child, and, been married and everything. How do I juggle all this? But I think the idea just kind of took roots in, and the rest they say is history. So that's how I started, the restaurant. But to make it the way it is now, I keep saying to everybody, and this is.
Do you ever thought it would be this big before when you started? Or is a vision you just had that, look, I want it to be one of the biggest in United Kingdom?
Not really. I'm not competing with anybody.
Right.
But I keep saying this. I said, and I tell everybody that's upcoming, I said, if we are both designers, fashion designer, and, I go, my function of my education and my exposure, I'm a primary school, I finished primary school and I didn't further my education, and I'm a designer. You've been, you have your doctorate as the function and you're a designer. Your outreach and your outlook is totally different from mine because of my exposure and my education or, either formal or informal.
I know you're not competing. We've already addressed that. You're not competing with anybody.
Of course.
But you had that vision for it to be big. And so that, because I tasted you remember I've ordered a goosey from you. A goosey and a 4 and it tasted so wow. Even I gave it to my Zimbabwean friends, I gave it to my Kenyan friends. So it was really nice. So, I mean, your idea of even putting cooking, because what amazed me is that you're from a banking world, from finances to IT, and then you're now going to restaurant and then even your food. Are you the one that cooks this food? Because, I mean...
Thank you very much, Gigi. As I said, my mom inspired me, and having, grown up with her, having her in the restaurant and doing my thing during the holiday, cooking is kind of natural to us because our upbringing is. So to answer your question, I do most of the cooking, especially now, because I've left the bank now, so I have more time to do more of the cooking, and it's reflected in my customer, coming to, so. Because I enjoy and I love cooking, and people couldn't like cook for me or cook there and do the things like the way I would like to do it. So most of the food I take it upon myself to cook. But I do have help. I do have people that when I'm not around, they are trained to cook the way I cook or the pattern. At first I wasn't cooking, we just had people that just set the standard. But now I do. And so majorly for that having an order outside, and I just work within my time to do the cooking. And so we have different staff working for us. We have over 5 different people that are also helping out because as you said, it's big and the vision is big. How did I get it this big? I think it's also an opportunity that came in. We got a place that we could, develop into that, and so why not?
And the upstairs, because I've been there so many times. The upstairs is also if people want to have a party or they can always call you for their birthday parties. And I think I've been there, a couple of times, and I saw people having a party upstairs.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that. How did that idea came in? I mean, what's the...
Okay. Anyway, when you get, a place, because when we did the whole thing, and my idea, first of all, was to turn the upstairs into a nightclub, where people just come in and dance. But it's a big lounge, and we can contain about 45 people in there. And people started saying, "Oh, we want to host our party." So instead of being downstairs where people can just walk in on them, so we said, "Okay, why not we host it upstairs?" So did the whole upstairs, we arranged it, end of year is coming, people are doing the end of year dinner party for their different people, for their staff, for people, and people want to organize birthday. You have an intimate gathering, it's colder this time of the year, you don't want to do it in your garden or in your house, people just tend to book the place for. Just to say this, also as a promo, we're doing for this whole December from 1st to 31st, anybody's having a party or hosting an event upstairs, it's absolutely free.
Wow.
Just bring yourself and the people and just
Wow.
come and host it.
Wow.
We're doing absolutely free. It's also
Wow.
our own way to make sure that people get to know us, what we do, also have a taste of our cuisine. We're also expanding our cuisine. As you said, a lot of people that are not Nigerians love our cuisine. And I've seen, also a way of putting jollof rice on the map, on the global map.
Yeah.
The whites, the Caucasians, they love our food. And, a lot of people, especially in Northamptonshire, when it comes to, the Asian or the Indian food or the Chinese food, they know. They know the Indian rice curry, is popular. The Chinese food, of course, you've ordered. And so, but the African food, they don't really know what are we about. And when I have the conversation, about, have you tried our jollof rice? And I know that people are still getting to know, what our food is all about, and also putting that on the global map. That's come look. When it comes to jollof rice, we do it better. And so people are coming to try out our food, not just the jollof rice, most of our soup, because it's healthy, it's nutritious. We use natural herbs, to cook our dishes, and people are coming in, and that is the joy, that is the goal, to be able to reach people.
One thing I've noticed, because I noticed that people from diverse backgrounds do visit you guys. Sometimes I see the white people coming and dancing and drinking different drinks, champagne, all those stuff. And also see like Zimbabweans come. So it's not just Nigerians that come to Zuma Rock.
Definitely not.
Right.
Definitely not. The vision is to, it's not just a restaurant, it's also a lounge, a bar. So we have, of course, you've seen our bar that we've remodeled, to be able to cater for different people, and have different drinks to cater for all kind of people that will come into the bar. We want also Zuma Rock to be a relaxation point where people can come and relax. And so the way we've done it, the way we've our vision, and that is what we're still promoting, is to ensure that it's actually safe, for everybody to come in. There are some places you don't want to take your family to, you don't want to take your wife to, you don't want to take your children to. But with Zuma Rock, it's actually very friendly. It's actually very family safe. You can bring your children, you can bring your loved one to come and have a taste away from home that you can relax, absolutely enjoy. And after, we also have happy hours. So and that is what authentic Nigerian food with Nigeria Afrobeat music.
Yes.
Also to promote our culture. This is the place where when you're feeling away from home, you're feeling lonely, you're in the diaspora, you're not at home, you can come in and have a taste from home. You can have that bit, because you can go to other restaurants and maybe have their ambience, but when you come into an African restaurant, you should also have that Afrobeat, that sense of amapiano, something that will remind you of home, so that you're not homesick, and also have a taste of authentic African dishes. So that is the plan, and that is what we're doing, and we want to do more.
I mean, well done to you. Also, I've always wanted to ask this question. Since you started this business, I mean, it must be a lot that you've had to experience, the good and the bad, just like any other thing. But I want to know, what has been your biggest challenges since you started this business? What has been your biggest challenge?
A lot of challenge, I think the business just make you expand yourself, because you never can see those things until you are in it, And now I can tell you many ways, 100 ways not to run a business because of the experience you've gathered, because sometimes you just think, you're just going to, have this beautiful idea. The business plan I wrote, 3 years ago when we're thinking about this, and or 2 years ago now when we're thinking about this, and what I have now are totally two different things. So different. If you tell me to write a business plan, I'll write it now from experience, because that was so much theoretical. This is what you want to do. So the challenges were, first of all, bringing staff up to speed in what you're doing, also get them to catch the vision of what you're doing. And we had very, very terrible people, also learning to manage them. Then you see different things, come at you. You want to, this is where you're going to, getting people to align in terms of how to service people. We've kind of opened the place. It's a friendly, so most of my customers now are friends. They are more like a family. Yesterday we didn't have a booking, most of the Friday, Saturday we stayed up until 2 a.m., 1 a.m., depending on the booking. So we didn't have a booking yesterday. I'll just talk about yesterday. And somebody had come in, after 11 p.m. So when we don't have a booking like that, I try to close early, just not to open the place down. And so somebody had just come in as I was about shutting down. And I was like, oh, I'm closing, we didn't have a booking. So, my husband had, told him, that, oh, don't turn the customer away. Can we serve him drink? Because he just said he wanted it. He said, no. You're not turning the customer away. I'm not a family member. And I was so happy, he mentioned that because we've kind of, become friends and family with some of our customers and they're just so happy coming. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people call me, they have my personal number, they see me and they wish me well. And I was so happy that we're making a difference.
So if I heard you correctly, so your biggest challenge has always been around managing your staff, around staffing. Is that correct? Like managing them for them to connect with the vision. What's the, I want you to be more specific. Is it managing them or you want them to be more dedicated to it? Or what is it? Is it the management side of it or them not?
Okay, let me give you a business 101.
Right.
Your greatest cost is staff.
Right.
In the business. And Yoruba says, Boja Ataba, Boja Uta, Uwa Agberu Akpe, Abi Owo Alabaro Akpe, those kind of things. Owo Alabaro Akpe. So sometimes when the business is low, you're still going to pay because the staff is on hour, you're going to pay. So the biggest cost on any business, especially in the UK, is staffing. I don't know about others, but especially in the UK, is staffing. So it's the biggest cost. And nobody's going to understand when it comes to their money. They're not ready. Even when they do something wrong. I've had a staff that totally cooked rubbish. We couldn't use it. We had to chop the whole pot of soup away. But at the end of the week, they want their money to be paid, or at the end of the month, So when it comes to conversation, nobody's talking about it. No matter how nice you are, no matter even when you give them a free ride, you give them so many things, they don't care. They just want that money to be paid. So the biggest cost on any business is staffing. Outside that, bringing staff in that also understand your vision is also a huge challenge. Then there's so many other challenges. The bills are so high, the business rates, in terms of energy, in terms of this, the business rates for so many things, it just keep coming at you. You want to do your financials to find out that, am I really making money here? What am I really doing? Because you got to sit down and tell yourself the honest truth. So for the first, 6 months to 1 year, we were learning.
Right.
Now we've gotten, a bit better. We've gotten better experience to see, okay, so we have to put things in different perspectives. You've got to advertise, you've got to make places known. We want your ordering system to be perfect. We had everything. We spent so much money. Everything was, ab initio, So now we're learning through from experience to say, okay, we can add this on later on, we can do this, we can better manage, we can serve people better, and getting people to also, for instance, I said, I cannot be there 24/7. And when we opened this restaurant, I and my husband, we're working, we had our business, or we had our own professional job, so it was a whole lot. So you have people to manage for you. So one day, they kind of, you've already set the standard, you've written, I'm the business analyst, so I'll write all the process. For them to follow through is a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. So it's always that challenge that, okay, will they do what, they're supposed to do when you're not there, physically there?
Right.
But now we're more in the business, we're more so, things can align, the food can be the same taste every time, that you order, you're very certain to get the same kind of jollof rice you get every time. Not the one that is this or the other one that is this because another person is cooking it. And also to get the very, qualified, cook that will do certain things. Because, to me, standard is everything.
Sure.
To me, you got, the food has to be safe for people to eat. Things have to be done in certain ways to be able to, because, not just us, we're also being, watched by and by the environmental people who want us to be able to keep the standard. We're a 5-star rated restaurant and want to keep it that way to ensure that things are done as fresh for people to eat and bring out our food in the best possible way. So those are the things that have been the challenges. Apart from every other challenge that all the business go through, the economy is going through, inflation is increasing, there's been a kind of downturn. But but it's also good that, of course, we've learned from experience. We believe that our business have potentials. It's not just for people to eat, but people to come and, help come away to come and relax, come and enjoy the ambience, to also come and sing. We'll have karaoke night most Sundays where you can, you can book for it any of the day with your friends, come and sing. We'll have the lounge for you to use. And so something that we've been able to divide our business along that line to be able to maximize.
Sure. So what I want to know is that you're currently studying psychology at uni. This is your 4th degree?
This is my 4th degree.
4th degree. And you're also running a restaurant with your husband. I want to know, in terms of time management, how do you hope to manage your time? And would that be another challenge? I just want to understand.
Thank you. I've always done something.
Okay.
So the restaurant is our business.
Right.
My studying is mine.
Right. Okay.
It's my passion.
Right.
It's like somebody telling you, as it is now, I'm sure you have one business or the other, and telling you how do you have time, to go to the gym. So to me, studying, learning more is mine. Sure. I've done training for the restaurant. I've done things for the restaurant. It's like, my eating and breathing,
sure.
So I don't see it as taking time. And with hybrid of everything nowadays gives you, the extra time to do it. I only have to go to school 2 times a week. And so, I can read from home. And I've been in school several times. So it's like, what are they going to do? So it doesn't take me so much of kind of energy because it's my passion. When something is your passion, you don't see it as work. Also the restaurant, having this business, churning out food. If you see me in the restaurant, you think that is the only thing I do because that's my passion. So, I like to play with different cuisine.
What I mean by challenge, it seems you have different hobbies. What I mean by challenge is that it will mean that you may need to check your diary more, check your calendar. For example, you may have lecture online and you can't go to shop to cook and all of that. So I hope you would have put some strategies in place.
Definitely.
Right.
Oh, definitely. Nobody gets it right.
Right.
But, I'm this kind of person. I have help for everything,
Sure.
And, everybody understands, my timing. I can't be in the restaurant 24/7. And the way we've done it now, because we also have a bit of understanding, there are so many things, there's so many processes that are kind of automated in the restaurant as well. Unlike before, where you order for some things, we're running a header-scatter. Now you go to book for certain things.
Right.
So there's some, chef special that are put off the menu that you can just order. So this one you have to book for it. You got to give us notice so that we can prepare for you. And you can get the basic. You can get your jollof rice. You can get your egusi soup. You can get your eforiru at the bat. But for chef special like seafood, okra, fisherman soup, you got to book for it. So we have that time to be able to put resources in place to make those kind of special dishes for our customers. And as you said, time management is a big thing. I'm a business owner. I like process. So in my mind, I'll be moved to fashion to say, okay, this is the time dedicated to school. And one major advantage, we decide to open our restaurant, not, during every certain period of the day, from evening. So we are there in the evening. So every other thing you do in the day, in the evening, the restaurant is open. And so I'm able to get there, to be able to attend to my customers within the time of the restaurant. And when I leave the restaurant behind. And I come home to be able to get, to be able to be a mother to my son, to be able to be a wife to my husband, and to continue other things that I'm doing. So that has helped.
So much. In terms of the connection, once you finish your psychology degree, what would be how does the two connect? So you will be a qualified psychologist, I hope, and then here is the restaurant. How do you hope to connect? I guess that will work in terms of dealing with your customers, right, and your staff. Right?
Okay, do not think it's not complicated.
Right.
Don't think too deep about it.
Okay.
Only my business. Some people having 7 different businesses.
Right.
They're passionate in different things. Do not even overthink it.
Okay.
This is what I've ever been. I'm going to be a clinical psychologist. I'm going to have my practice. And I believe that, and I'm also going to lecture, so I believe that, that is just going to open a gateway to so many things, but it's not going to stop my business from, moving or from growing. And hopefully, it's going to grow in leaps and bounds.
Yes.
So, and I believe that is mine. I'm keeping it so close to my heart because I've wanted to do this for a very long time,
Right.
and I've been able to impact people more. It has even bettered my life now, just not even getting so much into it. I've just, started the first year of it. I've learned something that is changing me. I'm more patient, in terms of, I kind of understand people better. In my own outreach to my own personal life, not even, even if I don't do anything with it. And I'll give you a story.
What I mean is that you will do something with it. And I think from, it may be just my own point of view, you will do something with it in terms of, because psychology will help you to be able to understand your customers and also your staffs.
You're very spot on, Deji, but let me cut you there.
Okay.
There's something, somebody said to me, when I came to do my master's in the UK 2007.
Right.
It was the oldest man in my class.
Sure.
Pa Odiase is still alive and God bless him.
God bless.
So I asked him, Pa, why are you doing this course? He was about 75 years old at that time. He was the oldest man in my class. And I was like, Pa, why are you reading this course? And he said something to me. And I'll quote.
What did you say?
He said, in the Maslow theory of needs,
Okay.
he said self-esteem is the highest in the hierarchy. Okay? And, that changed my concept to life. That is able to do self-actualization, is able to do something that is happy doing.
We're talking about this whole thing about, managing your time with the restaurant and everything you've said. I mean, I think it's really, really fantastic.
Thank you very much, Deji.
Wow, you've got everything on point now.
I think, nobody has, to an extent, nobody's life is perfect and nobody has everything put together. We're also striving, to be there because there's always one thing in front of you that you want to attain, you want to achieve. And, from our last discussion, I was talking about, Pa Odiase talking about Maslow theory of needs, saying self-actualization or self-esteem is the highest in the hierarchy. I think I would say self-actualization is wealth to me, where I can do what I want to do, freedom to do what I want to do, and have peace, and I think that's the essence. Having a business, it doesn't take me away from me, because I still need to have me to be able to come back to. And that's why I've done what I want to do in terms of going back to school, to get another degree, not really in getting that certificate, but it's having an understanding into a world. I think we'll have a conversation. What has also made you to want to study psychology, at this time of your life? So many things I've attributed in my personal life that has also made me, but this is, I'm keeping it in my chest. And I know it will give me that fulfillment. It's also already giving me because I've learned so many things from it. In terms of monetizing it or coming to do a career, not at this time. But definitely the value I'm getting from it is just making me happy. It's making me fulfilled as a person. I do hope, I know that you will definitely always, visit us in Zuma Rock.
Yeah,
but I hope
I've always been to Zuma Rock.
Because lately we've made a lot of changes.
Wow.
I've also, been able to bring in one or two people that are, very understanding, that will assist, and we're also looking for new people. And there's something we're also planning. There's something hot on the burner that is going to change the next, a trajectory of what we, what the direction we're moving to, in terms of, packaging what we have to ensure that, we have that, create enough buzz, especially in Northamptonshire, to be able to bring people to taste our African cuisine and to bring people together to collaborate. I tell people, I say, we Africans, especially with the Black people, Nigerians, we don't synergize, we don't collaborate as much as we should. This is the time for us to collaborate.
Absolutely.
To build, generational wealth.
Absolutely. So, Lola, it's been nice having you on
Thank you so much.
my show.
Thank
you so much. And I want to, ask, what would be your last what's the last thing you would like to share with the viewers today?
Whatever you want to do, I think the best time to start was yesterday.
Right.
So start it. Do it now. Right. Because at the end of somebody's life, you don't regret what you did. It's what you did not do. take that risk. Yes, we're not in our comfort zone in terms of we're not in Nigeria, we're not in the country of our birth, we're all migrated into this wonderful country, but there's so much opportunity here. Roll up your sleeve and get busy.
You hear that from Lolo? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
And I hope that, you've enjoyed, hearing Lolo's story. This is someone that's always been a determined person. You hear it from her. She's always been determined right from when she was in Nigeria. And now has the biggest restaurant in the United Kingdom. I hope you visit Zuma Rock because
in Northamptonshire, not yet in the United Kingdom.
In Northamptonshire, to be specific. Okay, catering. So I hope you visit Zuma Rock Restaurant. Thank you so much.
Please come and have a taste. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.